Happy December 2022, everyone. I'm Pamela Beitzel of the Beitzel team at Realty Executives Arizona Territory here in Prescott, Arizona. And I'm going to talk to you about the greater Prescott area real estate market over the past 3 years today. So take a minute, sit back, and we'll discuss that, and you can learn a little bit about what's been going on. I apologize for all the stuff behind me. We're getting our house painted today, so we had to bring everything in off the patio. Anyway, I've got a question that I'd like to ask you, and the question is this. How many people move to Arizona each day? Think about that, and we'll come back for the answer after the message because it does have an effect on what I'm going to tell you today. Let's go ahead and take a look at this market report. And what I did is I went back over 3 full years to really let us see some trends. So just to remind you, what we're looking at right now is inventories, and the red line is the number of active listings that are on the market at any given time. The brown line is the number of new listings, and the black line is what is actually sold. So you can see it is really up and down, and because of COVID and then the craziness in the market, it's been hard to establish some trends, but we can still see some things to talk about here. So 3 years ago, before COVID, we had an active inventory listing of 1,179 listings. We're now at 1,112 listings, so we're actually tighter than that, which is I guess good. The brown line suggests what's coming on new on market, and the black line again shows what's sold. So what's interesting to see here is that we had a big surge in active listings this year. We had new listings that really came up at the beginning of the year, but then what happened was with the rising interest rates, buyers' demand, which would normally have gone up like this during the summer months, did not come. And the number of sold listings kept declining every single month until here we are at only 276 sold listings, which is one of the lowest areas that we've ever seen. It was lower than that in June of 2021, but remember that reflected that there were no sales happening really in April of that year due to COVID. And it was right about that in the spring of that same year. So anyway, that's what's happening with inventories. And what's this reflecting is that there are a whole lot of unsold listings on the market. And those sellers up here are either going to have to reduce their prices dramatically, or they are going to have to take their listings off the market and try again in the spring. Let's look at sold price. This is really, I think, the most interesting story here. And the most interesting story to me, and I'm going to go back actually to this one, is that prices peaked. When do you think prices peaked? They peaked in October of this year. Just 2 months ago, we reached our highest price we have ever seen, $549,000. This came close to that in March. And believe it or not, May and March of this same year. So our prices have still held steady. What is interesting is that for the first time in a long time, we saw this gray line pop up, which is what people were asking for their houses, and the black line shows what they actually got. For a long time, we didn't see that gray line because the black was higher or matching it. So homes were selling for exactly what they were priced for. What this means is that people are still overpricing their houses. They are having to come off their sales prices. And I think that that's going to continue a little bit. This list to sell ratio of 97%, though, is about what it used to be before COVID hit and put us into this funny cycle here. You can see this price change trend right here. So people really had to begin to reduce their prices, but that is changing. Now, weirdly, this reflects what the National Association of Realtors expects, which is that prices will actually hold steady for next year. They do not expect a crash. They do not expect a huge decline, even though I know that you're reading news articles that say that that is coming. It might. We don't have a crystal ball, and we can't always predict the market. But what's hampering things and making it weird is that we still have really low supplies. We don't have enough homes for the people who are coming to live here. And the question that I asked before of how many Um, People move into Arizona every day. The answer is 269 people every day come into the state. So we added almost 100,000 people last year. And we are now behind in our housing units by over 200,000 um, units that we need for people to live in. So supplies are continuing to remain tight, even though buyer demand has come down because buyers are struggling to buy housing. So it's a weird time. It's really not a great time for buyers because they keep getting hit with one thing after another. But one thing you can be sure is that if you are able to buy, your real estate prices over time will, according to past histories, improve. So again, I go back to real estate is almost always a good long-term investment. Anyway, I wish everybody a happy holiday, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever way that you celebrate. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you next year here at the Beitzel team. Take care, everybody.